Christmas time on the Rhine River in Europe.
Hi, I'm Jody.
And I'm Kelly.
And we're
JK Cruising.
We're going to start off here with a few pictures of some of the scenes that you'll see and some of the castles that you'll see along the way, just to sort of get your blood warmed up about this and make sure you're good and limber as we go through the exercises for the rest of the day to see all of the rest of the Rhine Gorge. So we're going to start off with just some picturesque sort of hallmark card moments here. We hope you enjoy these, and again, apologize, we're going to speed the video up just a little bit just to get through so much content that we have, and we hope you enjoy, and like and subscribe. Apologies in advance. We are not going to be able to get to Kolbens. We get there, but there's just too much video. It's over an hour and 20 minutes just of the Rhine Gorge, so enjoy.
Have a beautiful sights coming up, left hand side and right hand side, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful castles, and look to the left, what a spectacular little thing it is. It's a Rhine castle coming up on the left hand side, and below you can see a campsite. So that's for really brave people, ladies and gentlemen, who come here and stay on vacation. So in summer you will see a lot more campsites fully occupied. This is a very popular way for people to spend vacation here in Europe, not only for Germans, but also French and Dutch and Belgians are coming to enjoy themselves. So that is what you see on our left hand side. Few things regarding our sailing. So in a few moments, I'm sure you already noticed on our right hand side and left hand side when we sail, you see big plates with numbers. Those are telling us how far we are from the beginning of the Rhine River. So, and also, so there's a big plate signifying the kilometer mark, and there's one coming up on the left hand side and on the right hand side. They are mirroring one another, so you'll see them on either side of the river. And they will tell us how far from the beginning of the river we are. Then there are smaller numbers, 9, 8, 7, 6, there is no 5. So whenever you see cross, black cross on the white board, that signifies the half a kilometer mark, and then the numbers continue until we reach another kilometer. So now look to the left, look to the right, and you can tell how far we are from the beginning of the river, and that is 535. Yes, 535 kilometers, ladies and gentlemen. That's how far we are. Now, when it comes to navigation, on this stretch between Rudesheim and all the way to the Rhine Gorge to St. Gorshausen, where the Lorelei is, you will see that ships will only pass us by on our left-hand side. And in case there is a narrowing, the part of the river is too narrow, the ships going away from the sea need to wait for the ships going direction sea to pass by. So us sailing direction sea, we have priority. So the others coming from opposite direction, if it's too narrow to pass over, they need to wait for us to sail. So that's how it works. And at this moment, we're not passing by any barges, but if you get to see a barge, you might also notice that at the back of the barge there are cars, because the captains who live on those barges, that's the permanent residents. So when they dock, they have a special wide gangway, or if they lift up the car, put it on ground and drive around. So that's why they're traveling with their cars. And the cargo that can be on these barges is absolutely everything. You name it, they have it. We've seen the barges with cars, tractors, with Russian space shuttle. So all possible things. The thing is that Rhine sort of empties in the North Sea in Rotterdam. So, and that's one of the biggest ports in the world. So, what happens is they bring all the goodies to Rotterdam, offload the high sea ships, and put the cargo on the barges, and you can sail on the Rhine, on the Main-Danube Canal, on the Danube River, all the way to the Black Sea. So you can sail inland between North Sea and the Black Sea here in Europe, and traveling goods on rivers is always cheaper than doing it on the railways or on the motorways. So that's why this is one of the most popular and one of the busiest waterways in the world. So that's the Rhine River. And The barge passing us by on our left-hand side looks like it might be transporting some, for example, crude oil or maybe gasoline. So whenever they transport easily flammable goods, they are not allowed to dock within 3 miles of any kind of village limits, town limits, or whatever. Because if they go up in flames, they will take the whole village or town or whatever settlement with them. So they can only dock 3 miles outside any kind of settlement limits. So sorry. No, not at all, but this is just the precaution. Yeah. And this is just to make sure that when there is an accident, you don't want the whole village to go with them up in flames. So that's why. And very often for the captains, it's very difficult to actually find a docking position because by the time one place ends, the next one starts, and they have difficulties to dock. And now, slowly, we are approaching another beautiful castle. You'll be able to see now. Oh, okay, I'll say it already, but I was kind of nervous for a second because I thought it disappeared, but it's right there. It blends in beautifully with the background, ladies and gentlemen. It will come up on the left-hand side, and you will see a big scar on this landscape. There is a quarry. You know, they excavate stone, crush it, and make sand out of it. Look in it. So that's what is happening. The castle Stalle coming up on the left-hand side. This is the only of such quarries on the Rhine River because this whole area is UNESCO Heritage Protection Site, and you are not allowed to build anything that would change the outlook of the landscape, and that is why no bridges. Between Rudesheim and all the way to Koblenz, where we are this afternoon, you will not see any bridges. The locals move between one shore and another by ferry. They are not allowed to build bridges. Before the war, there were bridges that were bombed and never rebuilt. So, for example, before the war, there was a bridge in Rudesheim. They still have the pillars of it left, but the bridge was never rebuilt after this war. So, we won't get to see any bridges here until we get to Koblenz. And so what you see on the left-hand side is just a very, in a way, being ugly as it is, it's a very unique thing for this region, this hole in the ground, because you cannot have it anywhere else around here. So this is just a very special allowance that they received. And in case you're wondering why there's such a big conglomeration of castles all on the Rhine River, the reason for it is very simple. It is so because everyone wanted to have a piece of land on the Rhine. So when the barges were passing by, they would charge people for passing by. They had to stop and pay toll, or if they had some goods to sell, they were forced to sell them at preferable, lesser prices. So that was the deal, and that's why everyone wanted to have a piece of land on the Rhine River. And as you can see, right-hand side and left-hand side, we have loads of vineyards. So the work happens here by hand. So people dig the grapes by hand, and not everyone is aware of the fact. Here, you make white wine out of the white grapes and red wine out of the red grapes, but you can also make white wine out of the red grapes. So what happens is you pick the red grapes, you soak them in the barrel, but you need to remove the skin of the red grapes within 24 hours. You soak them in the barrel, and then you can make beautiful white wine out of red grapes. And then, on the label, when you buy such wine, on the label will be written Blanc de Noir, which means white out of dark, or out of dark, yes, or out of dark. And that signifies that it's a white wine made out of red grapes. So Blanc de Noir is usually a little bit more expensive because it's slightly more labor intense. Another wine that comes, for example, from this region is ice wine. Ice wine is made out of frozen grapes. So what happens is usually there is a special part of the field, of the vineyard, that is sort of secluded, and they save those grapes until the freezing temperature comes. So they wait 3 nights in a row. The temperature needs to drop below 0 freezing point, and then at night they come out to pick up the frozen grapes. And people who pick up those frozen grapes, they wear special gloves, and they wear those special gloves in order to protect the grapes from the warmth of their hands. Not to protect the hands from the cold, but to protect the grapes from the warmth of their hands. Pick up frozen grapes. Usually, in a frozen grape, the water level goes down, the sugar level goes up, and they make a very sweet dessert wine out of frozen grapes. And that's really expensive. If you make the ice wine, you can expect, you can charge even up to 17 euros for a bottle, because that's really labor intense and very, very much weather dependent, because those grapes must be really frozen. And now you can look to the left and you can see that black cross on the white background, and you know that is a half a kilometer mark. So we just passed by, and it doesn't mean someone died there, it just means we are passing by a half a kilometer. And in case you are wondering, sometimes the slopes of the vineyards are grown horizontally, some of them growing vertically. The reason for it is it's the angle of the slope and the angle the sun shines upon them. All rows of grapes must be equally spaced out. One cannot overshadow the other because some would get too much sun, some would not get enough sun, and of course then the wine wouldn't be good. So they are spaced out equally, they must receive the same amount of sun, and depending on the angle, you will see some of them growing horizontally, some of them growing vertically. And we're just passing by barge with the car at the back of it, ladies and gentlemen. So now you know why the car is there, yes? And another thing is, we're not gonna see it at this time of the year, obviously. But if you come here in spring and summer, at the edge of the vineyards, you might see roses or rose bushes. The reason for it is because those roses are not for decoration, they are like a test. And on the left side, the town of Rhine, and another castle. This one's looking a little bit more like a manor house than the castle, but the locals still call it the Schloss. So it's a castle on the left side, Rhine, and right below that castle there is a church, and that church has a very interesting feature, and that is a rooster on the top of the spire. So there is no cross all the way at the top, but there is a rooster, and that's not the only church that has this feature in this region. And there are two explanations. Why would you put a rooster on the top of the church? So one of the explanations comes from the times of Bible. There is a story in the Bible that tells us that one of the apostles came to Jesus and said, Jesus, I love you, I'll never betray you. And then Jesus said, before the rooster crows in the morning, you'll deny me 3 times. And that's what happened, and Jesus forgave that apostle. And this is to tell us that Jesus is a merciful Lord and will forgive us our mistakes. So that's one story. The other story is a little bit more complicated and comes from the times of 30-year war. And 30-year war lasted exactly 30 years between 1617 and 1647, and it started in Prague, today Czech Republic, and with the incident that is called Prague defenestration. So what happened is, in the past, so being a delicate flower, when in general, historians say this was the most devastating war in history of Germany. We would think it was the Second World War, but no, it was the 30-year war. Some estimate that even up to 60% of the population died during that war. So a huge number of people. And once everything that was to be destroyed was destroyed, once everyone to be killed was already killed, when all the fields were burned down and there was nothing else left to kill or destroy, they finally reached a treaty, a conclusion that said in Latin, eius regio cuius religio, which meant if the ruler of certain territory is Catholic, all the subjects must be Catholic. If the ruler is Protestant, all the subjects must be Protestant. And to this day, traditionally, southern part of Germany is mostly Catholic, and northern part of Germany is mostly Protestant. And also, interesting feature is that to this day, you pay church tax in Germany. So it works like this, that everyone who's legal here must be registered. So in the past you needed to go to a special place to register. Nowadays you do it online. You need to put your name, your date of birth, name of your parents, your phone number, your address, all that stuff, and your religion denomination. And if you are Catholic, Protestant, or Jewish, then and if you agree to it, this is not obligatory. It's on you can opt out of the business, but out of the system. But if you agree to it, then approximately between 8 to 10% of your taxes will go to the church of your choosing. Which it is not additional tax. It's just that imagine every year you pay 1,000 euros of tax. Out of this 1,000 euros, between 80 to 100 goes towards the church of your choosing. And then you have all the services in your church free of charge. Baptizing, or first communion, or confirmation, or weddings, or funerals, you don't pay for anything. However, if you opt out of that system, and you have right to do so, it's not obligatory to do it, then you're not allowed to get married in a church because you're not contributing, you're not part of the church. Then why would you, if you just want to marry for show? That's not how it works. Your kids will not be baptized, and you will not be allowed to be buried in a religious cemetery. You just go to the common cemetery, and there won't be priests presiding over your funeral. So that's how basically how it works with the church that's here in Germany. And on our left-hand side, a ruin of the Nordic castle coming up. Right above the kilometer mark 541, the ruin of the Nordic castle. The castles here, unfortunately, mostly got destroyed by the end of the 17th century, 1699. French troops came here and they destroyed everything in their way because French kings thought that he was supposed to go over this territory. And what happened is there was an opposition to it, and of course, whenever French troops encountered an opposition, they decided they just destroyed everything and burned down, blown up all the castles, and majority of the castles were rebuilt only after yet another German unification in 1870s. And they were not always rebuilt according to the original plans, but according to what people thought those castles might have looked like. So that's how it worked. Now, coming up on our left-hand side, you will be able to see sort of a somber gray-looking building, not really fitting in. Those are the former barracks. So what happened is, when there was a Franco-Prussian War in the 1870s, Germans were afraid that maybe there would be another French invasion, and they felt like having military presence right here in this area. So they built those barracks there to make sure that there is enough soldiers stationing here. And after the Second World War, the Allies were stationing here. And nowadays, it's no longer barracks; it's just a place, conglomeration of offices, flats, and all kinds of things. Whomever wants to rent or buy the space, they are very happy to provide that for you. So that's coming up on the left-hand side in just a few moments.
Would you mind if I took this chair?
Oh yeah, sure. The little town over there, Jody.
There's a little town every 5 feet, and a church, and a castle.
And a castle.
And you could stay, at one point you could see like 4 or 5 castles at one time on each hillside.
Oh wow.
This is a lovely building.
It is.
It's gorgeous in the spring and the summer and the fall.
I bet it has to be gorgeous in the spring. Yeah, if it hadn't been for the Christmas marks, we would have definitely done it in warmer weather.
Yeah, well,
We wanted to do the
over the
Christmas.
years. We
And now coming up on our left-hand side is the town of Bacharach. So the town of Bacharach on the left-hand side, one of those places that has clearly Roman roots, because the name Bacharach comes from the name of the wine, god of wine, Bacchus. So that is what the name comes from. All the way up on the hill, you see the castle. That is one of the castles that got partially ruined during the French invasion from 1699. Well, the legend has it that the daughter of the owner of the castle went to French troops and French camp and said, "I know the entrance into the castle, secret passage. I'll lead you through it. Take whatever you want from the castle. Don't destroy the castle, and make me the mistress of the castle, the lady boss of the castle." So they agreed upon the terms, and the girl led them through the secret passage into the castle. And at one point, they ended up in the very dark room. They could not see anything. The girl sneaked out. Just a second. That is
Oh, yes. Yeah. So all the, where you see the lines, those are all the, some run this way, some run. Cool.
Alright, so that was a little real cliffhanger, ladies and gentlemen. But like so, okay. So what happens is the girl leads them to the secret passage, locks them down in a room, and sneaks out of the room herself. And the French troops were left in darkness, and some of them had matches. So they tried to lit up a match and see what's going on. In this one terrifying second, they realized that she locked them up in a gunpowder room. So the whole thing blown up, and that's how one girl managed to defeat the whole French troops stationing below that castle. Flying debris of the castle landed on the roof of Werner's chapel. You see, this is this empty tooth. So that's the Werner's chapel, and the roof caved in, and ever since then it's just an empty tooth. Beautiful setup for summer crusades. And then right next to it they built a new church, ladies and gentlemen. So that is, and in that town they still have altar with the old inscription from the Roman times, presumably, but no one's able to read it anymore, and we don't know what it really says then, but local people gather once a year right in front of that, or around that altar, to celebrate the local holiday. So that's the town of Bacharach on our left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen. And in a moment, I'll let you enjoy the Bacharach. And you know, we're passing by the ships on our left-hand side, and we're passing by the castles on our left-hand side and right-hand side. But there will be coming up one structure right in the middle of the river. So get ready for that, ladies and gentlemen. Felsgrafenstein coming up in a few minutes in the middle of the river.
I'm gonna go check on the batteries, okay? Come here, okay? I mean,
You'll miss the structure in the middle of the river.
no, I'm not.
Yes, you can have it this way. You can have with tea, for example, with lemon and honey, and then we drink it. It's really good. This is how I am. Okay? Yes.
Yeah, we are. Well, kind of on the side. But I think we could pull another chair. I'm waiting for my hot dog. Oh, she's going to be a hot dog. She uses the chair. Yeah. I'll be right back.
Special how they get
Yeah, these are Calvin's actually. Actually, I make a piece of this one. I think $5, so I bought my other one. You know, my sister-in-law there. I wanted to, I love, so I love it.
I know, but it's just so like, I know, I came down, I was going to go, and then he came down, his face was like, you know, it's like,
In November, we started pulling it out. And I said, my mom, we're bad, wrapping over on the weekends. And we talked about Christmas music. Those are really my like, probably September. Even me not looking at this camper, and they were always terrorists.
Alright, and coming up in front of us now, Felsgrafenstein. So first there was a tower in the middle of the river, and later on they added addition to it to make it look like a ship sailing through the waters of the Rhine River. And if you wonder what that is, it's a fancy looking toll booth. So this is one of these places where you had to stop to pay the toll when you were passing by. And then you will see they have special openings to fire arrows at you if you are trying to sneak in. And in the past also there were special hooks that they would hang a person or two there as a warning for those of you who would like to just sail by without paying for it. So that is Felsgrafenstein in the middle of the river, ladies and gentlemen. And on the right hand side, we're passing by the town of Kaub. So Kaub is the town that we'll see on the right hand side. Very important for German history. In that town, on the river bank, you should be able to see there is a monument of a man pointing with the finger into the river. That's a German hero, General von Blücher. He was crossing frozen Rhine, January 31st, 1813. No, December 31st, 1813, January 1st, 1814. and with his troops coming back from a victorious battle in Leipzig, where he defeated Napoleon. So that in early 19th century, Germany was again invaded by French, by Napoleon, and this was a very harsh occupation for them. They did not want French here, and when they got rid of them, when the Napoleon was defeated, everyone was very jubilant. And General von Blücher was seen as a national hero, and his troops across the frozen Rhine in town of Koch. So as we're passing by Kau, ladies and gentlemen, look to the right, and you'll be able to see that monument over there with the pointing with the finger into the river. Copy again, yeah. Right there. Okay, okay. Chocolate chips, yeah. And how much? 43. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, and to keep everyone warm, if you feel like warming yourself up, our ever helpful bar staff has on offer a special drink for you that contains Baileys, coffee, whipped cream, white chocolate syrup, and a bit of chocolate sprinkles on the top of it for €4.50. So Baileys, coffee, whipped cream, white chocolate syrup, bit of a chocolate sprinkles on it for €4.50. You don't need to do anything. They will approach you if you feel like it. You can get one. Enjoy that, ladies and gentlemen. And now, as we're passing by Kau on our right-hand side and Pfalzgrafenstein, you can see that on the top of the hill there is a castle, and it's written on the top of the castle, Gutenfels. That castle was named after a very independent girl, Guta. Independent girls were not very well received in the medieval times, in the medieval society. But this one, Guta decided she fell in love with a certain young man, and she decided she wants to marry her. And her family was feuding with...
Is it okay if I turn off the light?
Perfectly fine. I'm not going to read. Make this less clear.
Move upstairs. Stand behind the bridge. The wind isn't blowing, so I'm going to go up there.
Can you hear the narration?
No, baby.
Alright, so the town of Oberwesel, ladies and gentlemen, coming up on our left-hand side. So Castle Schönburg on the top of the hill. And below the castle you can already glimpse and see the Church of Our Lady. That's the orangey brick church that you'll see. So that's the town of Oberwesel. Very important for our journey because one of the navigational centers is right here in Oberwesel. And we'll pass by that building on our left-hand side. There will be a planned building with yellow window frames, and that is the Oberwesel Navigational Center. So the town's coming up on the left-hand side.
I think that we were supposed to take these with us out outside, and it worked. It did. It worked all day. Is it perfect?
Yes, but that's just a
It is a
conversation.
game changer. Like,
Honey, they're offering a special price.
I mean, some of that I wondered if and then there's a little place for time of share. Three giant storks flying there. Storks. Someone told me they were storks.
Alright, so that's the beauty of the Schönburg Castle, ladies and gentlemen, that we're seeing right now. And right below the orange church, that's the Church of Our Lady.
No one has seen this route in snow, gentlemen, so this is the first time this season, yes? It's very
Yeah. That wasn't last year, that was 2 years ago.
But this is pretty exquisite. It reminds me of Beauty and the Beast setting, you know, that enchanted castle and the snow and everything.
Do people live in those castles?
Some of them are inhabited, some of them are for sale, and they're for sale for very cheap money. However, they come with a contract, and the investment in fixing and maintenance is millions over millions. Indeed, but they're very pretty to look at, either way.
I know.
You try it. What's it called? I don't know what it's called. Special gift I'm tonight. You'll love it, John.
And on our left side, you can see another church, and that church has like a white addition and a grey tower, and that tower has no steeple. What happened is the church was old medieval, but burned down in 19th century, so that white addition is 19th century, the tower is medieval, and the steeple also collapsed, and it was never rebuilt. So that's why this church looks the way it looks. Allegedly, they wanted to rebuild the steeple as well, but they ran out of money. And then you will see the old medieval walls, defense walls running alongside the town, and as we get closer to it, you will see one of the towers that was a defense tower as well, and it's called Ox Tower. So there's an Ox Tower coming up on our left-hand side in just a moment. Coming up on the left-hand side as well is St. Vincent's Chapel, and this one also has a rooster on the top of the church, and now you know why there was a rooster there. So on the left-hand side, that's what we are seeing right now.
Yeah. Like that tower's in place, but that was all.
Okay, so we passed 3:30. Alright, so now you see the Ox Tower as well, ladies and gentlemen, right in front of us. And right next to it, a low pump building with that yellow window frames, that is the navigational center. So right on the riverbank, there is that building that helps us safely sail through the Rhine gorge.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. When you go to Cologne? Yeah, well, this is part right now.
And on our left-hand side, you'll be able to see a kind of a fancy entrance into the tunnel, looking like a little castle. There are more of those alongside the Rhine River. This is one of the less fancy looking like, but they were built during the Second World War. So when the Allies came to bomb this area, they were supposed to bomb only things that are important for the war effort. So clearly not the castles. And so the locals started building fancy entrances into the tunnel to deceive the Allies and to make them look like little castles from above. And in most cases it worked. So those things were not bombed. So the one you see on the left-hand side is just, like I said, one of the less fancy ones. But there are a couple more coming up. Right-hand side, left-hand side. And if you were wondering why they look so fancy and they are just simple entrances into the tunnels, this is the story from the Second World War. On our right-hand side, coming up another navigational center, because we are right halfway through the Rhine Gorge right now. And in a moment, we'll first take a slight turn on the left, and then on the right-hand side, you will be able to see the Lorelei rock. So Lorelei was the local girl that was seduced by a prince who promised her marriage. And he just needed to go to war, and when he's back from war, he would marry her. So she was standing on that rock and waiting for the prince to sail by, and the prince did sail by, but he already had his princess. So the girl had a broken heart and she threw herself into the river, but before she died, the goddess, the lady of the river, saved her life, and she said, "You'll be sitting up on that rock singing your song, and you will be leading all the sailors to sail into that rock and crush as your revenge." So that is the rock that we'll be able to see in a few moments on our right-hand side. So now you can see on the left-hand side, you have a fancy entrance into the tunnel with a little tower and everything. So now you know what's the reason for it.
Every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, look to the right, and that is where you will see the Lorelei rock. So it's coming up, and you will see it writing on the wall. So now I'm telling the truth. That on the right hand side is the Lorelei rock, where the Lorelei broadcast of that rock went up in the river. And to enhance your experience, we'll play some of the Lorelei music right now. So that was the Lorelei, ladies and gentlemen, and in a moment we'll be able to see the Lorelei monument itself. So in the past, the Lorelei monument was up on the Lorelei rock, but no one was able to see it, so they took it down and put it on the river bank. But it's made, it's sort of brownish, greenish color, so beautifully sort of blends in with the background. So it's also not that easy to spot it, but I will point it out to you, and hopefully you'll be able to take good pictures of it. And now on our left-hand side, you see a lot of empty space right on the river bank. This is another campsite. This is where people come to camp in summer, spring, and to enjoy themselves. So usually if you come here anytime from April onwards, you see this whole sort of right on the left-hand side, this whole empty field packed with camp cars and campers, and everyone camping right here and enjoying themselves. This is a very popular and very well booked spot because it's a very good location. So that's one of those spots I mentioned at the beginning of our talk. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's train our eyes and look to the right. And coming up right below the blue flag, I already see that the flag is not limp today, meaning there is a bit of a wind that is blowing in the wind, waving in the wind. And on the right-hand side, right below the blue flag, on the riverbank, there is a monument of Lorelei. She's sitting there, combing her hair, singing the song, and leading us all sailing into Lorelei rock. So that's coming up on the right hand side. So Lorelei, Monument of Lorelei coming up on the right hand side, ladies and gentlemen. Take your pictures, make sure you won't miss out. And now we are passing by on right hand side Sangor's house and on the left hand side Sangor's. And the castle you see on the right hand side is Cat's Castle. And then on our left hand side, in a moment, we'll pass by one of the biggest and most picturesque ruins on the Rhine River. And this is what I was talking about, ladies and gentlemen. You see that Viking ship? They had to wait for us to cross that narrow stretch of the river, and only once we are gone, they will be able to sail. And this is what I meant when I said those who sail direction sea, which is us, have priority over those who sail away from the ship, from the sea. So that ship was sitting here waiting for us to sail, and now we made a space to move. And just in case you are wondering, that was us last week. So where we were sailing direction Basel, we needed to sit here for quite some time to let all the ships pass by. They were sailing the opposite direction. So one of the most picturesque ruins on our left-hand side, that's the Rheinfels Castle, very popular wedding destination, ladies and gentlemen. As we get closer, you can see why is that the case.
Definitely braver than I am. I'm sitting here with my coffee.
So on the right-hand side, Sangor's house, and ladies and gentlemen, on the left-hand side, Sangor, and a beautiful castle, one of the most picturesque ruins on the left-hand side, and one of the biggest castles that we see alongside the Rhine. So what you see is the Rheinfels Castle on our left-hand side. So on the right-hand side is Cat's Castle, on the left-hand side is Rheinfels Castle. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our Rhine narration. We stayed to the most beautiful part of the Rhine River. Feel free to stay where you are. There's more castles coming up, more pictures, villages, more vineyards. So have your cameras ready to snap happy pictures. And I'll thank you very much. Between the Act 5 and 6, we should arrive in Koblenz. Once we arrive in Koblenz, there is no program. Everyone's free to leave and go for wandering town. Christmas markets open till about 8:39. If you did not have your fill of the cable cars, you can hop on another cable car that's open to 10 p.m. Go all the way to the fortress and enjoy the Christmas garden, which is like an illumination show. So that might be your thing to do. Have a lovely afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Try your other one on yours. That's all right. Are you big enough? That's good. If you want to change sides, that is a
Yeah, that's one of those castles that will take you 10 minutes to go in. So
yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. Imagine all the secret passages and tunnels and stuff that are probably built in and around that thing. It's been years finding it. See how they put new windows in the places where they occupy.
You know, and like he feels in a colorful hole. He's in a little touch of
Where was the house in the middle of the thing? The big house in the middle of the thing. They never said anything about
It's not
it.
just killing me, not opposed it.
You were gone.
No, no.
You went back to the room. And I told you were gonna miss it.
But I said it. I captured everything that was there. It only took 30 seconds to switch the battery, so it's on that video. If we passed it on the outside.
I didn't get pictures of it because I thought you were.
What's on the thing? If it's, like I said, I didn't pass anything down there while I was down there.
Bye.